let's talk a little bit about, how you've integrated ToolWatch and other applications at Tonn Blank, and then how that fits into this lean conversation.
Yeah. So what happened here at Tonn Blank in terms of ToolWatch is I was reached out to by our operations team, and they told me, we have a bottleneck in our process. We need to be able to streamline our job costing from the field to our office and into accounting. So what they had was these equipment timesheets that they were manually doing. And, when they approached me with the issues they were having, I asked them, okay, what's the problem? What's it look like? What is your desired state? And just let's look at all the steps that are involved in your current issue, and let me know the desired states, and then we'll identify the gaps. And so we didn't know at the time that if ToolWatch would be the way we would go. We just knew that there was a problem in a process, and we had to identify what that looked like.
Sure. Then let's, from there, let's get into specific examples. I think where the rubber meets the road here a little bit.
So can you go back one slide there, Jay?
Yeah, sure.
Just real quick. So, we were duplicating information. We were doing things manually that we already had in ToolWatch. We did not have any transparency. So the field was sending in like these job costs that were hitting projects, and project managers would come back and go, it should have been on that cost code. We had no integration with our accounting. So we were, taking and doing one process and then duplicating it in our accounting software as well. And then we just had downtime. So I just kind of want to hit on how those bullets that we had there were, affecting us. And our downtime was happening and just waiting for information to come in.
And how long had you had Sage up and running? Had that been something that had been in Tonn Blank for a while, or was it being brought up at the same time?
No, we've had our Sage software for quite some time. I would say at least 20 years.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And so this was kind of what I was talking about. The problem was processing equipment timesheets to job costing in Sage. Our current process, as you can see here, is 2, 4, 6, 7 steps in the process, and it was taking 8 hours a week to process this. Non-added value here. We were over processing information. We weren't getting things right because, we didn't have transparency between the superintendents and the project managers, what was going to hit jobs. And also things would get missed off that manual timesheet. And then there was the waiting, which was a huge bottleneck for the office. They were waiting for information to come into them. And it was a lot of stop and go in their day. So I sat there over a 6-week period, and I sat there and measured what it was taking them so I could understand what our cost was.
I should have asked this earlier when we were chatting, but did y'all do a Kaizen, or were you really just sitting there effectively doing a Gemba walk and measuring what was happening?
So this was actually a black belt project that I did through Purdue University for my Six Sigma black belt. And, the issue had came at me right about the same time. So it was just opportunity for me to use this as my black belt project. So I'm showing you 2 deliverables of probably 20 some deliverables that I had to really break down to show proof of concept, right? But these are the biggest 2. And when it comes to lean and especially lean, not so much the Six Sigma concepts, but value stream is huge in lean. And understanding the flow again. I keep saying flow, but it really is. It really is about flow.
So 8 hours over 6 weeks to get through this process.
Right.
And then you put the integration in place.
Yeah. And so when they came to me, they were like, we need a new software. This happens a lot. People come to me with a problem and they assume that they already know what the solution is without really finding the root cause of what the problem is. And so when they came to me, we kind of did a whole analysis of, okay, here's the issue. What do we have currently available? We want to see what we already own, right? What we're already invested in. And through that problem that they were having, I kind of did a deep dive into the capacity of ToolWatch and what ToolWatch could offer us. And what I found was that you were able to automate our process. We had a solution. We just, like many companies and organizations, we were not fully knowledgeable about what the capacity of our software and how it would fit into what we needed it to do. And so through my discovery, I found out that ToolWatch could automate reports that would go out to the superintendents and to the PMs. So that's automated on like a Friday. And if they need to identify any changes, they have to get back to them by X. And if they don't, then that's going to hit the job.
Yeah.
So it kind of like, we're not waiting for their information because we were already using ToolWatch before to transfer tools and equipment out to the site. That was already happening. We were just missing the piece of, okay, the integration with Sage. And so finding out we could automate this process and then push it into our accounting software, it just streamlined everything that we were doing. And so, it took us 10 minutes, for us to get those reports and them to identify changes and get back with us. So that time went way down. It takes 60 minutes for the office to adjust and post, and then exporting the file and posting it into our accounting software. So we went from a very manual process of getting these Excel timesheets and manually typing this information into a Sage equipment module when we already had a ToolWatch that we were using a portion of, and we just opened it up and integrated and it really streamlined our process and really saved our bottom line.
Yeah, so we chatted earlier, I went through the, the academic view of what lean construction is, but as you said, when it comes down to it, it really is, underlining it again, understanding your flow and figuring out how to make things work more seamlessly. And I love the point that you made about looking at the tools that you have and figuring out how to use those tools more efficiently.
Yeah, sometimes it's maximizing what you already have, whether that's, unused talent that I talked about earlier, or software that, you're using. But, I can't tell you how many times over my career I've used a little portion of the product line and software because that never just got rolled out or deployed correctly, or, changeover happened, and whatever the reason, it exists. So yeah, you want to see what you already have and see if that could be a solution. And like I said, with technology, there are a lot of softwares out there that help bridge and integrate technologies through APIs or, specialty softwares that just do that.
Yeah, I think it's I think what you put forward here is a great example of, what could be viewed as a simple yet very time-consuming process, and one, to your point, that simply wasn't a value add to the organization. It was work that had to get done, but the manner in which it was getting done was consuming people's time in a non-value add way. I mean, do you have a sense, April, of how you were able to deploy those people's time into other activities so that they weren't copying and pasting spreadsheets?
Yeah, so I mean, with the superintendents, they're already out in the field doing, building hospitals. So to stop and to worry about an equipment timesheet, that
sounds more important.
Building that hospital is much more important. So there's an efficiency there that, they can put their focus where it needs to be. And then for the office, it's just, she no longer had to sit there and wait for information. So now she can focus on other tasks and be a support to, our operations team in other ways and utilize her talents a little better, because when you're sitting there waiting for somebody to give you information, that's very frustrating for an employee. And, if you've seen somebody do it, and this was a 6-week process that I did as a black belt. It doesn't take 6 weeks for, so anybody who's watching this, don't think you need like a 6-week investment to make a continuous improvement. It just means identifying those gaps and making those changes. And there's a PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act, and or an adjust, some people call it adjust. And you can just go through that cycle over again until you get to your desired state. What's my current state? What's my desired state? Where are the gaps? It's kind of that simple.